Hey y'all, for this episode of Pickin for Progress, I sat down with someone who's been through an awful lot, but is nonetheless a pillar of strength and inspiration. Take it away, Reverend Hopkins.
I'm Reverend Debra J. Hopkins. I've been in ministry for over 40 plus years. I'm the founding pastor of Essentials for Life Ministry that focuses on the LGBT community that has been ostracized and ill-treated by the traditional faith houses that they once went to. And I'm also the founding director of There's Still Hope, which is a nonprofit organization that focuses on providing transitional shelter for transgender adults and victims of domestic violence.
You ultimately revealed that you were a trans woman in 1996, but you were working as a Baptist preacher outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
I can't imagine because, at that time I was a middle-class white teenager struggling with my homosexuality, but being an African-American trans woman and revealing that to the world, that took a lot of courage.
I guess so. I didn't see it as courage. I saw it as something I had to do, and I was willing to do it at any cost. But at the same time, I was getting a calling to go into a city and an area of the Deep South that were not welcoming to blacks. But I went to start another church.
I think it's incredible that you moved to, of all places, Huntsville, Alabama. In 1997 as a black trans woman.
Black trans woman, absolutely.
What on earth were you thinking?
My mother asked me the same question. She used the metaphor, what in the hell made you? And I had to laugh at it, but it was actually a spiritual calling to actually go up to Huntsville, Alabama to start a ministry that focused on women who were living homeless and children. And with donations and support of small businesses in the area, we were successful in providing not only a ministry, but also shelter, feeding some of the homeless during that 10-year time. Yeah.
What I find so beautiful about that is while you were maintaining a ministry, you were coming into your own as a trans woman. This was your blossoming period.
I laugh at that because it's the period where even at 64, okay, I'm still going through the adolescent years. I experiment with hair, I experiment with makeup, I experimented with a particular style. The one thing that I didn't do was change my voice. The strength of who I am is my ministry. And when I open my mouth, it's confirmed. Because people can then recognize that there's a power, there's a strength, there's a conviction.
Magnetism.
With my voice that didn't need altering.
I'm amazed at your perspective given what happened to you in 2007.
Yeah,
basically ruined your life.
It did. To leave work after working an extra shift, a police car pulled up behind me, paid it no attention, got on the parkway to head home. 3 cars, 4 cars. By the time I got to the exit for me to get off, there were 8 police cars that had surrounded my vehicle. So as I make my way to get off of the ramp, all lights come on. And as I pull over, I'm rolling the window down, guns are drawn. Get out of the car. I get out of the car and I'm being completely frisked. I was told that I was being arrested for assault with a deadly weapon and robbing the bank not once, but twice in the same day. I said, excuse me? They went on to explain to me, we have cameras to prove this. I spent the better part of a year and a half from end of 2007, all of 2008, 2009, I go into the courtroom, Mr. Hopkins, I'm in this room full of people, embarrassed, humiliated, and angry. This was all on top of what went on. When I was being fingerprinted, I was molested. Now I'm put into a cell. And that's when the rapes take place. I had never been so, I guess this is still hard for me to talk about. I was really destroyed. They treated me like the worst thing walking. I would share this with my attorney. Didn't believe me. Shared it with the arresting officers. They didn't believe me. Shared it with the judge. They wouldn't believe me. None of them even approved me to go and be treated for the bruises or to be tested, to validate what I was saying. They wanted to prosecute me for a crime that I did not commit. And instead of the court affording me a court-appointed attorney, I had to shell out of my pocket. I had to mortgage my home. When the judge dismissed the case, she called me up to the bench, and the first thing she did was apologize to me. Apologize for calling me by the previous name that I owned.
Every time she referred to you?
Every time she would call me by that name. Now the grand jury was convinced that I was nowhere near the crime scene, that it was a mistaken identity.
Do you think you were targeted because you were a black trans woman?
I was targeted because I was, one, black, and I was a poor version of a woman. I was still developing, still trying to get my hair right, still trying to get my makeup right and clothing right. And I think it was a racial target because the prosecuting attorney got within inches of me when the judge dismissed the case and walked up to me and said, "I know you committed the crime, and with everything I'm going to do in my power, I'm going to get you. Someday I'm going to get you." And that was my signal
to get out of there.
Right then and there. It was time for me to get out of Huntsville.
After your life completely unraveled because of legal expenses, physical and emotional abuse, just a living hell, you ended up moving to Charlotte, but you wound up on the streets.
I had a job at the time when I moved here, but then I began to lose my sight. I developed diabetic retinopathy, and I became blind for roughly about 6 months. So I no longer could do a job that put me out on my streets. Got a cousin here who has a big house that never took me in.
So you were homeless for the better part of
almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years,
yeah.
In Charlotte.
In Charlotte.
Since 2015, you have not only worked your way out of homelessness, but you've started a ministry for homeless trans people in the city of Charlotte.
Yeah.
And there's more homeless people than ever right now because of the pandemic.
The number is going to grow. It's going to grow because the pandemic is not going to end tomorrow. It's going to go into the winter, and we're moving into flu season. If you think it's a homeless population now, come back in December and check out this area. It's going to get ugly. It's part of what inspires me, motivates me, and moves me through my organization, There's Still Hope, to make a difference with providing emergency temporary shelter, in particular for transgender people of color, because in the homeless population, they're the ones that are being left out the most. They can't even go to the men's shelter here or the women's shelter and feel safe or secure.
You yourself got kicked out of the women's shelter in Charlotte.
I myself actually got kicked out of the women's shelter. I was asked to come into the director's office one particular afternoon, and she said, "There's some people here that are uncomfortable. We need to do a strip search." Thought for a second, and I came back and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Have you ever asked anyone else who's come through these doors to do a strip search?" She said, "No." I said, "Do I look like a damn fool to you? Do I look stupid to you? Why would I do a strip search when you have never had anybody else come into this office to do a strip search? What are you looking for?" We want to make sure that you are female. I said, whether I had male genitals or not, it's none of your business. And I'm not going to do it. Well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to have to ask you to leave the property. I left the property.
Throughout the world, trans women are treated inhumanely at every turn.
Many of us are treated at the lowest of the low. We're treated like we're stupid. I have 3 degrees. I'm a well-educated black woman. I've taught middle school. I supervised in a brokerage firm. Manager of a cable company. Pastor 3 churches. Running a nonprofit. I'm not dumb. We're not dumb. We are just as gifted and talented as everybody else on this earth. The problem is a system that continues to look at a race of people and think that we're not intelligent enough or qualified enough. And we've proven them to be wrong in almost every aspect, yet we're still treated that way.
What do these elections mean to a black trans woman?
I can only speak for myself. What I experience is still the injustice, the inequality, the prejudice towards a community of people. For trans people of color, I speak from a platform of education, homelessness, employment, health. These 4 key areas are what, from a trans black person's perspective, are some of the most difficult challenges that we face. We're moving into an election, a major election. And this country needs to understand the seriousness of this election. If you want to throw your venom and anger out, now's the time to seize the moment.
The ballot box.
Get to the ballot box and vote. And if you don't vote, well, guess what? You just gave a vote to hate, to what's wrong with this country, to continue to allow the system that's in place to stay in place, and the leaders who control it to stay in position, to continue to keep their foot on your neck. You may not like either candidate. You may find wrong with both of them. Look, I'm here to pick my poison. Your voice does count. Whether you're gay or lesbian, black or white, or however you identify in this country, you need to make a choice. But the choice is simple. Get up, get out, and vote.
Reverend Hopkins, is there a particular piece of music that greatly helps you in a dark night of the soul?
Blessed Assurance, because it not only ministers to my soul, but it speaks to the plight of mankind, that whether they believe or not, there's a Redeemer that has blessed their soul and is watching over them. And I know that that assurance rests with all of us. It rests with all of us when we go to give bags of groceries to individuals, share a kind word with someone who may be down or just passing by, or who asks for help.
Blessed Assurance.
Blessed Assurance.